Welcome back. You listen to Disaster Recovery Hour, AM 1160 WVNJ, The Voice, and I am your host, Chris Plunkett. If you want to do a comment, you can go drhradio.net. That is drhradio.net. Go to the comments page. You can ask me something. You can ask Andy something. You can ask something from last week or the week before, or insurance related, or property management, or discover. But get on there. Throw us out something. We have I have many tools, and many people with lots of knowledge to answer these questions. Because you know what, you don't want to ask the question. Ask the question after the incident's already happened, and that these incidents happen they come in different forms. So again, it's drhradio.net, drhradio.net, and also the 1-800-962-1160. That's the phone number. It seems to be antiquated now, huh? No, it doesn't. Use the phone. I use it every day. I do have on the phone from WANDAA is Brian Loberg. He's glad to jump on board again with me. Give me an update. Hey, Brian, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Chris?
I'm pretty good. How you feeling from your trip?
Still a little wonky, but I'm okay. Yeah.
Brian's a field director for WANDAA. WANDAA is the World Association of Natural Disaster Awareness and Assistance. It's a nonprofit. Jim Arnett is a top dog down there along with Steve Neary, right? There's Steve, and then there's Brian, and then some other volunteers. And Brian was over in Japan, on the outskirts of the hot zone, if you will, right, Brian? And the last time we spoke, you had goods on the ground. And you wanted, and you were looking to get up north, and it was a task, needless to say. Why don't you let's pick it up from there and roll.
Well, yeah, I guess that was a couple Tuesdays ago, and I ended up getting it finally at the 11th hour Thursday night through customs. Found a truck with some drivers from Second Harvest, Japan, and we ended up leaving. Finally got the stuff shipped from the airport to their location, and we left at midnight Friday night and drove up to Minamisoma, and which is just south of Sendai. It's actually about 20 kilometers from the nuclear plant, a town of about 70,000 that got pretty much destroyed, and handed out our stuff there. That was the first day.
I was, I have in the studio today, Brian. I also have Andy Weitzberg. Andy is the director of the president, I should say, of ACP of Long Island. That's Association of Contingency Planners. Andy's a large proponent of keeping businesses up and running during a disaster and how we can bring them up and running after a disaster. So I thought Andy would probably have a good couple questions for you. But when we talked last time, I brought in the not correlation, but the similarities between Haiti and Japan. You had a third world country, and you have a super successful economic power in Japan, but you guys experienced the same supply chain issues, and I find I found that very kind of ironic, really.
Well, I think it was up. We were new, going over there sort of without knowing exactly what was up, so. It's not entirely their fault that way. We were, like I say, learning ourselves, but it was really the customs of getting things through to the country. Like, you'd think, hey, break it down, look at it. It's staring right at you. It's clear wrap around it. There's, diapers, cloths, whatever. It's all pretty straightforward stuff. Just look at it and get it through so we can get it up to the people. And that was kind of odd. And I guess it could have taken longer, but I spent about 3 hours on the phone for 3 days, or each day, and finally got it through. But still, I found it was a bit weird that it was so hard to get it through,
Now, was it a safety issue to get into the zone?
I don't know. I think they're so proud. You know what I got to tell you? After 2 weeks of spending time with the Japanese, I love them to death, but I think I can't figure them out really. And I think one of the things is they're so proud of themselves as what they are, and maybe accepting help sometimes is a bit unnatural for them. I don't know. Even in something so awful as this. I really don't. I don't know the answer, but that's the best thing I can think of.
Yeah. And Andy's got a question.
Brian, did you find that the officials had a hard time with being overwhelmed with what went on, and this caused them not to be able to change their game plan?
I think so. I think they're so used to regiment and detail and. Everything's the same all the time, and nothing really changes as far as getting things done. And they're so efficient, I guess, in a way that this sort of really threw them for a loop.
Now the loss of life. Now the whole country is affected.
It's horrifically affected. It's amazing. I'm like, again, just because I was there, I'd seen it, and it's hard to realize on TV or whatever and what you see. It's really, I think it's the worst thing that's ever happened in this century. I mean, I don't know what could be worse, really, as far as overall disaster. People, sure, but economics and just the destroying of a country in a way.
Yeah. So when it comes to loss of life, the effectiveness down where is everyday life happening? Was there power issues down south by you?
No, the only thing that's there is power a bit, and it's strewn. So you got to kind of watch it. And there's what it is you've got towns like that one, or Ishinomaki is another town I went to, which is further north of Sendai. So that's another 170,000. Sendai, where you see all the famous videos of the boats going into the bridges and homes and stuff. That's over 1 million people. And they're destroyed, like, sort of about, depending on what city or town, halfway up their city, or a quarter of the way or a third of the way up their city is completely destroyed. So they have nothing. They don't live there. They don't work there. Nothing happens there. The only thing you'll see every once in a while is like a 7-Eleven truck that acts as a 7-Eleven, just to feed maybe workers or army guys.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it. Or people are just driving through.
Now, the Red Cross is over there. Does Japan have its own contingency of like Red Cross people, or is it
really? They use the army pretty much.
Oh, okay. So there.
Yeah, that's what I saw everywhere. I didn't see anything. I didn't see anybody. I was only up there for 2.5 days, and driving around a lot. Didn't see anybody except army. So I didn't see any other volunteers or helpers. But I could have, they could have been elsewhere because it's 500 kilometers long, so it's a pretty big area.
Brian, is that because of the fallout, the radioactive fallout, that most of the agencies do not want to come into the area?
That's another one too. That's I think a bit of a rumor too, and a bit of a people like to take like recessions when when countries go into recession. It's a lot of rumor that continues it, and people just won't spend because they're told not to. But same with the nuclear stuff up there. It's not as bad as people think, but it's still the sound of the word nuclear, radioactivity, blah, 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 scares a lot of people. And so I know that for a fact that people aren't buying rice from up there, even in places that weren't affected directly, meat, even with the cows grazing on the radioactive grass, they think, blah, blah, blah. So I think it's a bit more, or it's a bit worse than, or it's not as bad as people think as far as radioactivity goes.
Yeah. Now, Brian, your run up there, tell me, why don't you give me the day blow to blow? You get the vehicle. You're shooting up there.
We went up midnight, and as mentioned, we ended up in I can never get this name right, Minamisoma, and we gave out all our WANDAA stuff there. So what I did was I had 2 trucks go up, 2 big sort of 18-wheeler types, and we went up there and we dropped them off about 9 in the morning. I went for a walk, actually, about 4-kilometer walk, 3 miles or so, out of the town into a valley that had been completely destroyed. Actually, on our website, on WANDAA.org, you can see some of the quick videos I just put up with my iPhone. We're actually working on a documentary right now. Even PBS has got a hold of us, and we're just starting the process now, putting a beautiful videos and documentary together. So anyways, there's little snippets up there on WANDAA, and I walked down to the beach, basically, and I could see the nuclear plant. I could see it, in the horizon, what I thought it was. I mean, I knew I was 20 kilometers from it. And so I did that for about 3 hours, just shot footage down there of complete destruction in 360 degrees as far as I could see. It was just unbelievable. One little old lady with a wheelbarrow still pulling stuff out of one house that was still okay because it was really thick concrete, and it was actually on a bit of a rise of about 15, 20 feet. So that's about the only reason she survived. And came back, and we delivered our stuff from noon till 5 to little mini trucks that came through, and along with the WANDAA stuff, we had fruits and vegetables and juice and water and things like that. And that was up till 5 o'clock that day, and that was the first day. And then shot up, drove straight through the night up to Ishinomaki, which was complete destruction in a city now. Now we're in downtown, so to speak. And again, there's a little brief videos on WANDAA.org there that show me walking around and just being in shock and awe of the fact that it's just like, again, when video shows it, and me telling it's probably, you can't really get the gist, but it's unbelievable. So.
If you just joined us, the Disaster Recovery Hour, I'm your host, Chris Plunkett, AM 1160 WVNJ. On the phone, I have Brian Loberg. Brian's from WANDAA. If you've had podcasts, you can download the podcast, drhradio.net, and hit the podcast and sign up for that. You can hear the last interview I had with Brian. And Brian's giving us an update because he went up north with the supplies in Japan. Brian, before we go to a break, what about curfews? Is there issues or
there's nobody there?
Nobody there.
So there's no curfews.
Oh,
there's nothing. Like where we go is to people that can get into that area, and then when they go home. They go to shelters pretty much. So there's nothing. It's like again, the whole place is destroyed. I mean, what can I say? Like that's the only answer I got. It's unbelievable. Because
when there's we have Joplin happening right now, and it's even getting scaled back. I actually just found it this past weekend. My cousin's out there doing work. He owns a labor force company, and trying to get him on the horn. Brian, what page is the videos on? I got a question from one of the web people.
I'm sorry?
Where can we find those videos again?
Oh, on our WANDAA site, WANDAA.org. So WANDAA.org.
Okay, I'll also put.
There's a few pictures. It's like I say, it's just a brief little. I had to get something up because I had to show some, people they were interested in, obviously, in seeing the trip. So, again, we're in the midst of putting a massive sort of documentary together. That's super HD, full on thing. So those are just iPhone videos, but there's certainly an indication of little snippets of what's going on. Now,
Jim's been in the loop as you've been doing your trek up there.
Yeah, we were back and forth the whole time getting this stuff through. That was especially what was the trouble, was getting this stuff over and then up. But once we got it up, we drove, like I said, we were up for 40 hours straight, the whole crew. This is how amazing these people are. From that midnight, like I got up at 9 in the morning that day, that Friday, and went to bed 2 in the morning on Saturday. So what is that, And these guys are amazing and, selfless and all this, and it's just amazing to see these people come out of. You don't think there's anybody around, and all of a sudden 500 people show up, and where'd you come from, and they live, some of these places that only had 4-foot, 5-foot waves just flooded them, so they didn't ruin the house, like rip it down. So now they're living in flooded, ruined bunkers, and they've got nothing. They can't, there's nothing. So they rely on people to come up and feed them twice a week, and we give them literally 5 potatoes, 3 onions, a bag of rice, some milk and juice for 4 people for 2 weeks. Like,
wow. It's 2011. That's pretty amazing.
It is amazing, actually.
And now, are there other NGOs over there, non-government organizations that you teamed up with at all?
Like I said, I didn't see any.
Yeah.
And I don't know. All I saw was stuff that was, debris, garbage. Did I tell you that stat that they figured out? It's 35,000 years of garbage in one day. Did I give you that one last time?
Wow. No, you didn't.
That's the stat. That's what everybody's figured it as. So if you went out to your driveway and put a couple bags down and maybe something from the backyard or an empty pail or something, times that for 35 years in one day. So it's just spread. It's pushed aside, basically. Nothing's really been cleaned up. Nothing's even been separated. So it's just enough to get people's roads cleared to get through and hang some wires of power, which still doesn't go everywhere. But so that's the scene. Like nothing's fixed or clean.
This is the Disaster Recovery. I've been talking with Brian Loberg from WANDAA. Just got back from Japan, delivering supplies to up north into the hot zone. Their version of Ground Zero. Let's go, Brian. Stay with me. We'll go to a commercial break, and I know Andy's got a couple of questions and a couple of web questions. We'll be right back.
When disaster comes into your life and attacks your property, you need answers. CPP is the answer. CPP is a full-service emergency services and restoration company. With 25 years of experience in emergency management and restoration, their seasoned team of skilled professionals is ready to assess damages and restore your property to its pre-loss condition. Who do I call first? What about insurance? Is it safe to stay here? What do I do next? Fire, smoke, water, or mold Behold, CPP restores your property and your peace of mind. CPP Emergency Services and Restoration, they've got answers. To reach CPP Emergency Services and Restoration anytime, visit them on the web at www.cppems.com. That's cppems.com, cppems.com. CPP Emergency Services and Restoration, servicing the New York Metro and tri-state area.
I know it's tough to hear me with this firefighter's air pack on, but it's the only way I can be in this smoldering pile of ashes that was my office. And I could get in trouble, but I hope you won't make the same mistake I did, since at least 1 in 4 businesses that suffer this type of loss never reopen. So here goes. Just 3 days ago, we sat in this melted wreck of what used to be a conference room, talking about how good things were. Over there was the tech room. The fire's bad enough, but the water damage really gets me. Look, here's an article describing us as visionaries. I should have done our disaster plan, but with everything else, I just didn't see this coming. Visionaries, huh? Well, the good news is, at least the ashes can't burn down.
There'll always be a few fires to put out around the office, unless it's not around anymore. But when you have a disaster plan, you can adapt, recover, and stay in control. Go to ready.gov and make your company's plan. Ready.gov. It's never too late to protect your business until it is. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and the Ad Council.
Do you know that there are some emergency shelters that have no emergency backup generators? You can be prepared and have your own emergency generator for your home and business. Hi, I'm Dan O'Brien from Academy Electrical Contractors Incorporated, a full-service electrical contractor servicing the tri-state area since 1981. Our specialty is generators. We give you a complete turnkey installation, service your existing generator, rent you the temporary machine for that planned shutdown or that unexpected power failure. Academy Electrical Contractors can install a generator to protect your family and business from a power grid failure. Power your heating and air conditioning system, keep your refrigerator and freezer running, power your well pump, or power your sump pump. Visit us on the web at academyelectrical.com. That's academyelectrical.com. Or give me a call at 877-SPARKIES. That's 877-772-7597. Academy Electrical Contractors, generating satisfaction 24/7 since 1981.
Welcome back. Disaster Recovery Hour. Chris Plunkett. I am the host. On the phone today with me is Brian Loberg. Brian's from WANDAA. That is the World Association of National Disaster Awareness and Assistance. It's an NGO, or what we call a non-government organization. And in the studio, I have Andy Weitzberg, and he's from ACP. A lot of initials going on out there. ACP stands for Association of Contingency Planners. Brian, just real quick, I do have a question for Andy on the web question. Michelle's suggestion is that businesses should keep a small safe for stored documents. Before we got you on the phone, Bri, we were talking about contingencies for businesses when they're in disasters, and she also mentions if there's a pharmacies that give out free drugs. I don't know about that, Andy. Maybe that's part of your.
The safe is certainly a good idea. Nothing wrong with that, though. You should have copies off-site.
Right,
as always. But as far as the drugs go, that program is not in place yet. I do not have any numbers on it. It's just at the talking stages at this point, so it's too early to give you any real information.
Now, Bri, back to the back to you, Bri. Andy, one of your questions, and we do have a web question from Scott, was could you tell if the major corporations, which probably had plans in place, recovering at a faster rate? Do you see anything up in that zone that is coming back to normalcy?
Oh no,
no.
I'm not laughing because it's so far. Like we drove for. I'll give you this one. Okay, I'll try to sort of be realistic here. Maybe. Honestly, about a 4-hour stretch at one point where I had my hand or my arm up against the window with a camera and filmed for 4 hours straight of every business, every factory, every refinery, pulp mill destroyed. So even if you had one going, what would you do with it when there's nothing else around you? I don't know how and where they're going to start fixing this.
Right. Do you see
4 hours?
What Andy's got something?
Well. Yeah, that's always a problem. Do you see any of the factories outside of the immediate affected area? Are they getting back to normalcy? Are they getting the power that they need in order to produce the goods? Many of them are exported.
You know what? Maybe if they're private and they're, they've got their own, funds and they're doing stuff, I just honestly didn't see any of it. I just saw destruction. Even though we'd go inland, because the tsunami can only go so far inland and then eventually things aren't destroyed, it's still, cities are functioning back there, but, in the pockets that are completely destroyed, I guess, I just don't know. All I saw was just disaster, so I don't know.
So the crew, who'd you have inside who's part of your team?
Oh, I had three awesome guys, Japanese guys that, from Second Harvest Japan, that didn't speak a word of English, and I didn't speak any Japan, and we spent 2.5 days together, and it was awesome. They treated me like gold, and I treated them like gold, and we just really bonded and had a really interesting experience of how two sort of nations can get together and go up and help complete strangers. It was really, really a unique and interesting feeling, I'll tell you.
That's a great point. It's nice. It's nice to see, not like with our country, when we do have our natural disasters, that people, neighbors and strangers become one. It's nice to see that an international side. You have two big economic superpowers, and listen, you're a representative of this country, or I'm sorry, of North America, right? Because you're a Canadian,
right? But I'm in the States a lot too, so I love you guys. The whole country, I consider us all one as far as North America goes when it comes to this kind of thing. That's for sure. Yeah,
without that, a couple of my fast friends I made down at the academy, guys from up north, and what a good attitude. I'm talking about three guys with the most positive attitudes. It was very refreshing. I tell you, they didn't really hone on. Sometimes I think we get a little bogged down with the negative stuff, and it's easy to beat a dead horse.
I'll tell you, something like this sure did that for me. I mean, everybody's can always use a kick in the pants, as far as taking life for granted or things like that. And this was extreme, I know, an extreme version of that. But I've sure got a different look on life. I didn't have a bad look before, but I'm just saying it's a lot of things I won't sweat anymore. Put it that way.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So well, when you got back and you're basically detoxing, I'm assuming. What on the WANDAA.org page? Where is it? The videos are in the events part of it.
They're up on sorry, Jim did this, so I haven't looked at it lately. There's a tab up top of the page, a couple in maybe, that says events, or sort of a more of a recent tab. I guess what those are. Up there, and if you go along the top, you'll find it in one of those, and it'll show the WANDAA blog, I guess, as best we could with the lack of communication over there. It was pretty hard to send stuff back, I'll tell you, being up in those areas. So I did sort of my best as far as keeping people updated.
Sure.
But now we've got all the stuff here, so we're got a bunch of editors, friends of mine, that are volunteering their time, and even Jim down there with the PBS guys, and saying that we're, like I say, putting more formal footage together.
Yeah, from your experience now, best laid plans probably couldn't do anything here.
No.
I mean, it's just
we're going back. Actually, I'm going back in probably 2 months after the summer. This summer, I just, if I can avoid it, I will, and I have the chance to, so I will. It's going to be ridiculous there, as I mentioned last time. The electricity issues in Tokyo and Japan itself are crazy with the air conditioning, no air conditioning, and those summers there are super hot, humid. Escalators, elevators, all this stuff is just working at half power. The lights at night aren't on. It's just. So I'm going to go back anytime after August, probably September, give another 65 or 75 days, I guess, and do another 3 months later update and show exactly. I bet you I go back and it looks exactly the same. I got a feeling.
Brian, this is Andy. Are they still working at recovering bodies? And
yeah, I think it's now. It's just you find one. It's a bit rare. Like I was walking around in some pretty weird, and I was getting a bit freaked out about seeing something I didn't want to see. People had warned me that there still are there, but I was saying before, I'm not sure if I said actually before, about the safes and stuff. Like all these folks were older folks. A lot of people up north are older, so they had stored their money in safes and under their mattresses. So I think that the number I'd heard was 24,000 safes had been returned. Like that's how loyal and how honest these people are returning safes, that had been washed back up on shore after the tsunami had receded.
Well, Brian,
there's not too many bodies, and I didn't see any, like I said, and I could smell awful smells I've never smelled before, I'll tell you that, but I don't know what.
Well, Bri, we'll try to focus on that on the supplies. I appreciate you calling and giving us an update because I know you were sleeping the last time. You got up at 2:30 in the morning their time for the first interview, so I appreciate it. Keep me abreast of whether we go through emails or a quick intel with a couple minutes on the show in the future. But before you depart out to your second tour of duty over there, give me your objectives and your goals, and I'll reach out to you pretty soon. I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show.
Well, again, I just want to say that WANDA, it's just, it's three of us basically, and so the red tape is little, our overhead's minimal. So we take the goods and we bring them right to the source, and that's what we like to advertise, and that's how we'd like to gain some strength and be able to help people in the future. So, especially Japan, it's not over by any means, and of course there's going to be other disasters and things that come up along the way that we'll help with too. But our main goal right now still is on Japan, so we'd appreciate everybody still helping out and try to get us back there. And like I say, we're the little guy that can bring it right to the source. So yeah. That's our goal.
That's WANDA, WANDA.org, and they have a link off of our site, drhradio.net. You can go there and click onto their stuff. Thanks a lot, Bri. I appreciate it, and I'll reach out for Jim pretty soon. Take care.
Hey, nice talking to you guys.
All right, take care. So Andy, but that's an insane large task ahead of them. But, we got to, looking at our country and keeping our house up and running, I can only imagine our government is looking at intel and looking at our geography and saying to themselves, okay, what's going to happen if, we have to take this for a lesson. Don't you agree?
We do, but unfortunately, we've seen it in New Orleans. We saw it in Galveston, all the way up to Houston. With the hurricanes, and I saw some pictures of Galveston Island after the hurricane that hit there. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of it, and it was pretty desolate. It had been pretty well wiped, pretty well clean. I think I saw one house in one picture. That was the only one still standing. So you can prepare. It's very important to prepare and evacuate and have your off-site backup, but you can't protect your property against everything. Mother Nature is just kind of tough to fight.
Let's go to a break. Andy and I want to talk about some of the things that are similar with the homeowning and disasters with homeowners and business. I'll be right back.
When disaster comes into your life and attacks your property, you need